Have you ever felt that your children simply do not hear you? You speak, but it seems that your words fly right past their ears. Such behavior can cause anger, irritation, or even disappointment. But what if we told you that the solution to this problem is not in control or punishment, but in a different approach that can radically change your relationship with your children? Instead of lashing out or trying to force them to listen, let us break down a strategy that truly works. These are not magical tricks, but clear, conscious steps that will help establish contact with children and restore mutual respect. The first thing to remember is control over your own reactions. When we are ignored, the first natural reaction is irritation. We begin to raise our voice, demand attention, and show rigidity. But the more pressure we exert, the more children close off and resist. Anger does not solve the problem. It only exacerbates the situation. Stop, take a pause, a deep breath in and out. Your calmness is your strength. It not only prevents unnecessary conflicts, but also demonstrates confidence and internal stability, which has a strong influence on children. When they see that you are not so easily provoked, they begin to listen. By controlling your emotions, you not only maintain balance, but also become an example of how to cope with tense moments maturely and consciously. The next important step is understanding. Understanding does not mean indulging in disobedience. It is about looking deeper at what is behind a child's behavior. Perhaps they feel vulnerable, upset, or overwhelmed. Maybe they have accumulated something that they themselves do not know how to express. It is important not to immediately react from a position of authority, but to first try to understand the true reason for their behavior. This does not mean that you allow them to show disrespect, but it opens the way to constructive dialogue. The more a child feels understood, the more willing they will be to make contact. Instead of saying, "Why don't you listen to me?" try approaching it differently. "I noticed that you are not reacting to my words. Maybe something happened." This approach creates space for dialogue. Children, like adults, sometimes unconsciously close off when they experience stress or emotions that are difficult for them to express. It is important to remember that upbringing is not about a struggle for power, but about creating an environment in which both sides feel respected. If a child sees you not as a strict controller, but as someone who understands and supports them, they will naturally begin to listen. Now, think about how often you really stop before reacting to children's emotions. How often do you try to see deeper? The next time you feel ignored, try applying this approach. Do not react rashly, but first try to understand. And then, perhaps, the situation will be resolved in a more harmonious way. Establishing clear boundaries is not just controlling behavior, but a way to show children that the world is structured according to certain rules, and in it, every action has consequences. Boundaries are not punishment, but a guide that helps a child feel safe and understand how the surrounding world works. It is important to convey that boundaries are not rigid control, but care for them. If a child understands that the established framework exists not to suppress them, but for their own good, they are more likely to accept them. However, boundaries must be reasonable. A bend in the direction of excessive severity, or conversely, complete freedom can lead to problems in the future. Clear, consistent, but flexible boundaries help to cultivate responsibility in a child and understanding that they themselves are responsible for their actions. But children learn not only through prohibitions and boundaries. Their main source of knowledge about the world and how to behave in it is us adults. Our example speaks much more than any moralizing. If parents demand respect, but themselves treat the child or each other with disdain, no amount of talking will help. Children read behavioral patterns and repeat them in the future. Calmness in difficult situations, the ability to listen and respect the opinion of another, that is what really influences the formation of a child's character. This does not mean that you need to be perfect. On the contrary, it is important to show that mistakes are normal, but the main thing is to be able to admit them and correct them. If a parent is wrong, they must be able to apologize so that the child sees that respect is a mutual process. Another important aspect of upbringing is creating positive moments outside of conflicts. If relationships are built only on prohibitions and correcting mistakes, there will be little warmth in them. But if the family has shared hobbies, fun conversations, games, walks, if the child has the opportunity to feel valued and loved, then trust and respect arise naturally. The stronger the connection, the less resistance there will be in moments when you have to discuss difficult topics. Children who feel that their parents are not just controllers, but their allies are much easier to accept rules and are willing to comply with them. Finally, no less important is giving the child space for reflection. Excessive pressure and attempts to achieve immediate change in behavior often cause resistance. But if you give time, the child themselves will be able to realize that they were wrong and understand why certain boundaries are important. This helps to develop self-control, which is much more effective than simply following rules out of fear of punishment. Upbringing is not a momentary result, but a long process of learning. The main thing is to maintain a balance between discipline and love, and then respect will become a natural part of family relationships. Now that you have these 6 key steps for calmly and constructively resolving problems with disrespect, let us delve into additional ways to strengthen these relationships. Building trust is not only establishing rules, but also being able to create an atmosphere of trust in which the child feels heard, accepted, and respected. First, learn to let go of minor conflicts. Not every dissatisfied word or disagreement should be taken as a challenge to your authority. This does not mean ignoring problems at all, but the ability to distinguish serious issues from trifles will help you avoid unnecessary tension. When a child sees that parents do not cling to every provocation, they learn that not everything should turn into a conflict and become more restrained themselves. Another powerful tool is involving children in decision-making. When a child feels that their opinion is taken into account, they become more responsible and respectful. Let these be small but significant questions for them. What movie to watch in the evening? What dishes to cook on the weekend? How to distribute household duties? Even such simple things form a child's sense of importance and understanding that respect is a two-way street. Do not forget to notice and praise positive changes. Parents often pay attention to misdeeds, but forget to praise children for good deeds. Even small steps towards more respectful behavior deserve recognition. A simple, "I noticed how calmly you resolved this situation, and I really liked it," can be a powerful stimulus for the child to continue developing in this direction. It is also important to be able to admit your mistakes. Many parents are afraid to apologize to children, thinking that this will weaken their authority. In fact, the opposite is true. A sincere admission of a mistake shows the child that making mistakes is normal. The main thing is to be able to correct them. This teaches children responsibility and demonstrates that respect is not built on fear, but on honesty and sincerity. And of course, remember the long-term perspective. Upbringing is a marathon, not a sprint. Changes do not happen instantly, especially if certain behavioral patterns have already developed in the family. If it does not work out right away, it does not mean that all efforts are in vain. Patience and consistency are your best allies. Every little step towards mutual understanding creates the foundation for strong parental relationships. Now you have all the necessary tools to react to disrespect calmly and consciously. Managing emotions, establishing clear boundaries without pressure, paying attention to positive changes All this will help you not only improve relationships with children, but also give them an important life lesson that will be useful to them in the adult world. We hope that this material was useful and inspiring for you. Upbringing is an art, and you are already taking important steps in mastering it.